Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is now 3 o'clock. It is time for the Masculinity, Blessing, or Curse show. T.R. Coverton, I'm your host, but I have a dear friend of mine here with me today. DLD, if you know him, if you're around in the community, you know DLD, Donald Dowridge, and he's going to just break off a whole lot of knowledge and information with us today. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the idea of talking to men, offering validation, encouragement, enrichment to men, particularly, and I've mentioned this a number of times, I've lost a couple of friends to suicide. So the idea of being able to speak to men, to allow us to say it's comfortable to be vulnerable. And I think that oftentimes in our thirst or quest to be masculine, that we refrain from the idea of sharing with another person, another brother, another man, where it might hurt so that we might be helped. But today we have Donald Dowridge with us. Of course, this is Black History Month. And for those of us in the culture, we say Black history is every day. Every day we live this, and it's something that we encourage each other with. Because there's some things that we have been through as a people, and those things are carved into our DNA. No matter how old you are, if you pick up a book and learn it, you will be refreshed by the fact that no matter what's going on, and I say this too, no matter what's going on today, Solomon said it this way: there is nothing new under the sun. It's happened before. We've dealt with it before. We've been successful before because we are children of God. Well, let's give a round of applause to my good friend, Donald Dowridge. And Don, share with the audience whatever you like to say about yourself. There'll be a whole lot, but let's go with it.
Who is the man that'll risk his life for brother man?
Don!
Me! They say that Don's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. I always tell people when I'm giving them those accolades, I say, I tell them, I say, you know that you're the baddest one now. And they say, what you talking about? I say, Shaft is dead, so it's on you now. What you gonna do? Yeah, you know what I mean? But in all reality, first of all, thank you very much, my brother TR. When you talk about masculinity, just to jump on that for a second, you and I have had some intimate conversations, and when you talk about two black men, especially in this time that we live in, you know what I mean, where you almost have to be cautious about what you say to another man, or else they take it out of content. Mm-hmm. It's just a joy to be able to open up to another brother, you know what I mean, and just pour the heart out and just be real with it. Here, I'm being real with it.
Right.
So I appreciate you in that manner, as my brother from another mother. Being strong black men as we are, I know because I was reading this book, and I'm looking over here in my shelf. I don't see it offhand, but I got it years ago, and basically it was written by a brother who worked for the Washington Post. I went to a seminar in Washington, and he gave out free copies. So as I'm strolling through it, I see some famous names in here, and they're all unloading the fact that, hey, we as black men, we may meet today, but we have the same backstory. Mm-hmm. We have the same backstory. So if you meet someone, like for instance, after being interviewed on NBC, I ran into a brother standing outside.
And that was yesterday, right?
Yeah. And he's visiting from Chicago. As we got into talking, about the backstory, before I could get finished about my past, he jumped right in there. He said, wow, brother, that sounds just like my past. So we all have the same story, more or less. However, back to me, again, it's an honor to be here on your show. It's a blessing. I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. Donald L. Dowridge Jr. is my name. I arrived from Baltimore, Tampa, August 1974. You know, coming out of foster homes, um, and then arriving here with my dad. He left in October of '74, so I moved in with some friends who were open enough to allow me to occupy their space in their domain. Moving on, military time, employed with the post office in 1985. From there, 11 and a half years later, I retired at 39 to start what is now known as DLD Enterprises, Determine, Learn, and Development. I got to let you know, the DLD, what a lot of people call me, I did not go out on the major thoroughfares here in this city, such as Hillsborough Avenue and 40th, Dale Mabry, 301, you name the major thoroughfare, Interstate 4, 275, with a sign saying, please just call me DLD. So I guess like Martin Luther King, Reverend Dr. King say, longevity has its place.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful that here I am 35 years later, still standing strong, still alive, still healthy, and able to pour out to the masses as I continue to do. I will share that upon retiring from the post office, as you know, we all got the foot of our bed, the foot of our bed. You got the head of the bed where the pillows go, and you have the foot of the bed. They call that the foot because when you're laying down, that's where your feet wound up. Right. So I recall, as I mentioned, getting on my knees and praying to God and saying, Lord, until you call me home, this is what I'm gonna do. You know, and this was after I retired from the post office. So I don't take it lightly for what I do. As you're looking at me, let me see if I can get this right. You see behind me on the wall, you see a picture at the top. That's me. I don't know if you can see me sitting there. Below, there's like a gray frame, and then you got the two masks, DLD masks. Well, below, all right, that is a letter that I wrote. And that letter is the objective of me being who I am. And in there, it was a prayer. Matter of fact, it's not a letter, it's a prayer to God. That's what it is. And it was written back in the early 90s upon getting started. And it stated that no matter how high I rise in this earthly walk, if I ever forget where I come from, just take it all away, give me a shopping cart, and put me in the midst of the hood so people can see what happens, you know, when you sell out, what happens when you give in to the devil, and what happens when you think it's all about you. As we were talking earlier, you know, about humble. You know, be humble. And I am so grateful, despite the trials and tribulations of life and some of the wrong turns that I've taken in this life, I thank God that I'm still standing. So that's my story in the short, and I'm sticking to it.
Amen, amen. Well, I'll go this direction. We live now, I mentioned earlier that there's nothing new under the sun.
Right,
we live now in a political climate that seeks to try to take away many of the gains that we might have gotten in the past. In fact, one of the things that's trying to be taken away, and literally on paper taken away, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The idea of, let's see, and I think it's recorded that certain people are saying that white men were disadvantaged by virtue of the Civil Rights Act, that they were taken advantage of. And so now it's resurrecting the idea of needing to, I don't know, feel uncomfortable with the idea of being black. So that is, you know, can you speak to that, or is that something that is permeating in this culture? And if you feel that, how do we address that without saying, I've come here to hold you up and you know,
Well, I don't know if this is going to fit in the space right, but I will say that I've heard it so many times that, for instance, you and I, we are baby boomers, so our baby boomer years ended in 1964. I say that to say this, that if you were born in 65, 70, 75, 80, 90, well, that's a whole nother aspirin to fear, to swallow, all right? And I see it so many times on, to be honest with you, on TikTok, on videos, Instagram, or what have you, where because of those who fall in line with Make America Great Again, MAGA, all right, well, they are strong to point out the fact that I am not my father or my mother. I am not my grandparents. This is not the 1960s. This is not the civil rights movement. All right. This is not put your foot on my neck and walk away. This is not tie me to a tree and whip me. This is not falsifying documents and get away with it. So I see these young people now, instead of, back in the days, we would get out and march. Our parents would march. Thanks to Dr. King, they would turn the other cheek, right? But now we're looking at a whole different aspect where there is no more turning the cheek. There is no more getting slapped and walking away from it. Now these young people are retaliating, and these young Black and Hispanic young people are retaliating, and they are not shameful to say that if you come at me wrong, you will pay the consequence. So we're in a whole new dimension right now of being Black. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I go on record and say, I stand beside it. I stand behind it because of the fact that, unfortunately, the person who is so-called president of this country has opened up a door that is, first of all, unlawful. Second of all, is disrespectful. Third of all, devilish. Fourth of all, and if I say the word selfish, and yes, it's a sense of, and I'm gonna go online, I'm gonna go and say it, KKKism. I've seen some of us who defend what he's doing, and it makes no sense. However, but the mere fact of it is, and you have heard this, and you probably read this, we're in an era right now where wrongness is glorified. Pessimistic is glorified. All right? Negativity is glorified nowadays. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people are glorifying false documentation. Thanks to what's coming down the pipeline from Washington, D.C. They have taken the tainted baton and they're running with it. But they must understand, while they're running with this baton, that they have to look out as they move forward, because a lot of them are starting to trip themselves. A lot of them are starting to annihilate themselves and hurt themselves in a manner that they figured it would not bother them. Yeah. So we are in a bad era right now, and so many people, from the time of taking office to this current date, so many people have unnecessarily suffered. So, when you ask the question, where do we stand right now and what needs to be done? Well, I tell you what, we as a people, all right, need to use this time to, instead of depart each other, How about we impart each other? You know, Willie Lynch wrote it over 400 years ago. All right? Don't put your hands on them. Play with their minds. Their minds will defeat them more so than what we can. The KKK came out in the 90s and said, we don't have to kill them anymore. We don't have to beat them anymore. We don't have to lock them up. I mean, you know, well, we don't have to beat them and kill them because they're doing it to themselves. Now, we as a people, if we could wake up, and this is not for all of us, please, I'm not demeaning us as a race, as a people, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna go on record, despite all the doors that have opened for me in white America, one thing I'm not gonna do, I'm not gonna sell out myself and I'm not gonna sell out my people.
Yeah.
Because my name is not Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So if we can come together, all right, and understand and use this time, instead of going after the White House, how about we come together and join unity, all right, and map out a plan for us to move forward.
Okay.
I think if we can do something like that, we could be on the right track moving forward.
I will use as a blueprint something that has already been done. Because some of the things that you said, I will challenge in this respect. The thing that has already been done, which I think is a blueprint for us, is the Montgomery bus boycott. Here was something that, I don't know, it was just a straw. Rosa Parks was sitting on the bus and she was asked to move to another seat in the back of the bus. The straw that broke the camel's back. I think she said it wasn't so much that she was tired. She was tired.
And the fact that it is,
so now it is something that I'm not doing it anymore. But the thing that I think we have to still realize, to the point of taking on violence ourselves, is that we can't win that one long term. Because if we decide that we want to take up weapons, I mean, there are evidences of the Nat Turner rebellions, but they were short-lived. Some people died, but it did not move us forward in terms of getting laws changed, etc. The bus boycott was, as you say, people coming together. Everybody, and I'm thinking, if I don't miss my guess, it's like 40,000 people that live, 40,000 primarily black people that were involved in this, who lived in Montgomery at the time. They now have to be on one accord, because we have to agree that we're not going to violently resist. It has to go on camera. The reason why George Floyd became such a worldwide phenomenon, the camera told the story. Everybody all over the world saw that, whoa, how can they be the drum major of peace and et cetera, and this is what they're doing to their own people. And that was a strategy that Dr. King has. Well, they're still dogs, they're still hoses, but they're not fighting back. So it takes away this opportunity that they had to say, hey, we are all good and everything is right. No, you can't have that reputation if we see you doing this. So it becomes something that is a long-term, slower process. The boycott, Montgomery boycott, was, if I'm not mistaken, 380 plus days. So more than a year that people have to say we're resisting. But it means everybody's on board. So husbands, wives, they walk to work now. If you have a car, you taxi drive everybody in the community to their jobs. Kids got to walk to school. So everybody in the community had to congeal together in order to make this bold statement. And of course, the statement that they ultimately make is, I'm going after your checkbook. When you start to take money out of their checkbook, their coffers, the bus system is now losing money.
Okay, well look, for instance, like you say to George Floyd, all right, Black Lives Matters, and let me walk back what I said in a piece of what I said previously. No, by no means when am I leading to inciting riot, violence, or anything of that nature. I'm just pointing out what some of our young, you see what I'm saying, are standing up to do. However, I agree. When you talk about the Montgomery boycott, which that lasted over 365 days, I'm smiling because December the 5th, 1956, Dr. King spoke at Dexter Memorial Baptist Church in Montgomery to alert the congregation and the world that we have won this battle. Mm-hmm. Starting tomorrow, December the 6th, we can now return to the buses and sit where we desire. Yeah. So I smirked when I said December the 5th, which I'm doing again, because believe it or not, that was a week after I was born. So I was like a week old when that moment happened. And then, when you talk about the economics of it, let's move up a little further in history. Let's take the cameras to Birmingham, all right, when Clark, all right, decided that, let's put the dogs on them. So once those cameras turned on, yeah, you know what I mean, then white America and the world began to rebel as well on the side of these civil rights movements like SNCC, NAACP, SCLC, adults and youth. Yeah. And they were so amazed that once these youth were being arrested, all right, and they thought they could just swoop them up. Well, once they swooped them up, here comes some more. Mm-hmm. So that they won that battle again, because now jobs started opening up, opportunities started opening up. All right. Well, let's move the camera. I mean, we can move it back to August 28th, 1963, which was the March on Washington. However, let's move it up, to the Selma March. You see what I'm saying? So over the Pettus Bridge, all these markers open the doors for where we are. Even when you stop over, if you stop over in Chicago, with the late Jesse Jackson, after Dr. King was taken from us, and he started Operation Push, mm-hmm. when he voiced it loud and clear, that I am somebody. Right. I might live in the slums, but I am. Right. Okay, and that set dignity, that set pride within the people, non-violently. All right, we didn't have to go and join a gang. We didn't have to go out and murder. Non-violently, we continue to excel forward as a people. You see what I'm saying? I mean, we can, if you got a tape player, an old school cassette player, you can hit fast forward on that bad boy, or you can hit rewind that takes us all the way back, like you said, Nat Turner. Then we can stop over to Frederick Douglass. Yeah. We can go to Harriet Tubman, because all these are markers that help us get to this point. Now, quite naturally, after Dr. King was assassinated, matter of fact, I still have the original Ebony magazine with Dr. King on front page, on the cover, and the question was, now that the king is gone, does that mean the movement is gone? And more or less, when I went into the article, it was more or less asking the question, who will step up to be the leader now? Well, quite naturally, here we are in the 21st century. I will say, and correct me if I'm wrong, we don't have a one leader anymore. I was talking about the other day about Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor rose up to the premium of comedians. Okay, so white America said, Richard Pryor, you our man. So he succeeded Bill Cosby, as you know, because when Richard came on, he came on wanting to be the next Bill Cosby, until they set him down and said, no, don't be Bill Cosby, be yourself. So once he grew into being himself, you saw what happened. He exploded. Movies, blah, blah, blah. He was the man. There wasn't, even though there were other comedians on a small scale, like the Dick Gregory's, blah, 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 but it was Richard. Once Richard died, did we walk around and say, okay, who's the next great comedian? No, even though Eddie Murphy, but look at everybody, Damon Wayans, look at everybody else that started popping up, you know what I mean? Like, you can go to the field and pop them, you know what I mean? Pick them, here they are. So now we are here. The question is, it shouldn't be no more, who's the new leader? Some may say Ben Crump, some may say Al Sharpton, some may say whomever. But now it's not about who's the leader at the top of the rung, if you will, or the hierarchy. It's the leader that should spring up within each and every one of us today, because it's going to take all of us, you know, to
yes.
pull this off.
Definitely agree. In fact, Jesus would say it this way: there were two of the disciples that were in argument about who would sit on the right, sit on the left when he comes into his kingdom. Of course, they were thinking that it would be a physical kingdom. And Jesus summarizes or ends the conversation with this: the greatest among you shall be the servant of all. In fact, I would even go so far as to say the leadership role is in the house of every father. That dad is in that house. He is fathering, parenting, he is husbanding his family, and if all of us are on one accord to do that, then there is no way that you can infiltrate and take out one person and cripple the entire movement. Because if dads are in their place to give their sons particularly this masculinity without being in a gang, without using drugs, without or adding some kind of skill or education, those are heroes. And if we are effective at perpetuating that kind of mindset, then everybody is a hero and you can't kill it. It is embracing that.
Yeah, and to add to that, my great-grandmother, Mary Rogers, you know, she stressed the fact that there's nothing new under the sun. Mm-hmm. Everything has its day, and everything has its day to be repeated. So I say that to say that, you know, I pray to God that the day will return when fathers are back in the homes as the head of the household. Yeah. I pray for that. You know, I've ran across young brothers with their children. As a matter of fact, I'll never forget, I walked into McDonald's in Baltimore, and this brother was sitting in there sagging. He had on his Timberlands, so, you know, I'm gonna set the stage. It was in the 90s. Brother had on his Timberlands, he had his pager, you know, had his hat cocked to the side, you know, the jean suit that we used to wear back then. And he had these kids sitting there. So I rolled up on him when I walked in the door, and I said, "Excuse me, brother, I ain't trying to be, you know, funny or nothing like that, you know, so don't take this out of context." I said, "Those your kids?" And he jumped up and he said, "Yeah, they're my kids, so what's up?" I said, "Bro, you know, relax, all right?" The reason I asked, because I wanted to congratulate you, you know, on being a black father to your children. You see what I'm saying? Quite naturally, after I said that, he once again went back in his relaxed mode, and he said, "Thank you, brother, I appreciate that." And he said, not I, he said, "That means a lot to me because, you know, being a black father nowadays, we don't get the credit that we deserve." Yeah, yeah. If anything, if they can move us out the way, like, you know, let's go back to the 60s, you know what I mean? The late 60s when it came down that, well, young lady, look, if you want SNAP, which they call it today, if you want WIC, woman, infant, and children, if you want that today, or let's call it like it used to be called, if you want that welfare check, You know what I mean? This is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to get rid of that black man. You know, so, and I've heard women, because I've had the opportunity to speak in different factions with women in groups, you know, where some of them would recite that I don't need a man. I don't need him. As long as I'm getting my check, I don't need a man. You know what I mean? It's me and my children. You know, so it takes away from the male factor. And it also, since you say masculinity, it takes somewhat away from the masculinity that, in my opinion, that boys should be, because those boys are raising up, and eventually, as adults, they wound up being fathers. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And the father role is a must. Yep. I don't care how many people that may say, and I'm not stepping on toes, I'm not stepping on women's toes or anything, but a man in a child's life, especially a boy, is very important, because of the fact that that man, if he got his head on right, he can teach that boy some pertinent life skills that one must have to survive in this life. How to be a man, how to take care of yourself, hygiene, how to respect, self-esteem. All this ties in when you have a man as opposed to a woman who can teach the same thing. No disrespect, they can teach the same thing, but I think when it comes to a man teaching these skills, it's on a higher level. Yeah. You know, man on man on. And not only that, you know, when you talk about masculinity, for instance, with my son, at 8 years old, I'm teaching him the birds and the bees. You see, at 8 years old, and he's like, Daddy, why you saying that? You know, and it was important that he got that lesson. I didn't get that lesson, the birds and the bees. I had to learn that the hard way. Yeah, right. But I'm giving it to him. Now, the question is, you know, nowadays, how many of our kids, our young men and girls, are actually getting that birds and the bees lesson as it's supposed to be taught to help them, you know what I mean, as they go forward. Yeah,
I mentioned we had some discussion in a prior episode, some parts of the discussion with Scott Galloway, who is a podcaster himself. Scott says if you reverse engineer men who are in prison, reverse engineer and go back, the majority of them are men that had a void in the relationship during their teen years, so that it starts to, at a very high percentage rate, lead them into the prison direction. Because oftentimes we are very much keen into a tribal mentality. We want to be a part of a group, and in the absence of a man or male role model in that house, and again, like you, don't want to diminish what a woman is saying or what she's able to do, but in the absence of that, the statistics say that that boy has a greater probability of going to prison than going to college. And so his role is very important. And as well, it is for that boy, but it's also for his daughter. Because the way that father treats his wife, the mother of their children, is the way she will see as the expectation as to how men should treat her. And if that is not the case, then it starts to point her in a different direction.
True. And as you were speaking, you notice I had the three fingers up.
Yeah, right.
Well, the three fingers is not 1, 2, 3. The three fingers are third grade. The three represents the third grade. And as you know, and any philosopher, educator, and even pastor who are well endowed, if you will, with us as a people, they know that the trap is set in the third grade. Meaning that, you know, in the third grade, it's all about grades, it's all about conduct, it's all about attitude. And quite naturally, as you know, we are labeled more quickly than any other race with ADHD. You see what I'm saying? As I recall, one time it came, we were discussing or something like that, that a black child coming out of a black home is way different than a white child coming out of a white home. So, meaning that, you know, when you got a black child who speaks in at a higher volume, it's assumed that that child needs some Ritalin, you know, or some type of medicine because they have ADHD, which is false. It's just that the manner of the household, and trust me, brother, when I say it's the manner of the household, I'm not saying it's a manner of a negative black house. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, as you know, we are raised different than any other race or any other culture, and they are raised as well different. You see what I'm saying? But you can't dim the light. Yeah, you can't dim the light on us and label it, wow, culture shock. You see what I'm saying? Because it's not a shock. It's reality. It's culture reality of how we were raised. But because of the fact that how we as black folks were raised, you cannot take us to an educational institution and then, excuse me, label us such as, or have us to go to ISS, or have us to go to special class, or suspend us, expel us, expose us, if you will, in such a manner, because as you said, you know, as that child grows, by the time that child gets 16, that child is no longer interested in being educated, walking across the stage to get a degree or a diploma, if you will, because all hopes of obtaining that goal has been dampened. Now, when you got, it's stated, you said it earlier, you know, when you have a nucleus that consists of a father and a mother, the chances of that boy, that girl graduating and the possibilities of going to college is much higher. The rate is much higher than it is if it's just a mother who is trying to raise 6, 7 children on a limited budget. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because that means that if that mother has a job, well, she don't have just one job. She's going to have 2 and 3 jobs, which take her away from the home nucleus in order to support the kids that are basically raising themselves.
Right.
So raising themselves lead to premature pregnancy, gang warfare, drugs, because, you know, with materialistically, when you talk about, you know, let's go there, the Jordans, the nice, like the kids say, the nice drip, meaning that their clothes and whatnot, you know, they want to be like that. So if they can't get that from the home nucleus, quite naturally, it's going to lead them out to the avenues, which are going to lead them to detention, which are going to lead them eventually to what? Prison.
Prison, yep.
You see what I'm saying? So unfortunately, here we are with a higher rate of our young brothers who are incarcerated, even if it's for 1 year, but it also can be for life.
Yeah.
So that takes us away. Now you think about, before you say, you think about once those brothers, and one thing I tell my young students when in Hillsborough County schools as a motivational liaison, and also in the incarcerated sites that I travel to, you know, when you leave here to go back to society, no, this is not Wakanda. This is that X that is on you. Meaning that when you walk into that classroom at Hillsborough High School, or you walk into that classroom at Mann Middle School, when you walk in, you're walking with what? An X on your back. So they're only going to give you one chance to file. You see what I'm saying? They're going to give you one chance to mess up, if you will. So I try to bring the point that, you know, you got an X on your back. And I bring the point, also example, I put me in there. Yes, thank God that I've turned my life around and I've turned out to be the person that I've turned out to be. Thank God, hallelujah. But I make them, I show them the example that if I walk out of here today and go down town, or if I go to Bank of America or a credit union, and I go in there and I rob that store, all right? Guess what's going to happen? Immediately, they're going to pull up, they're going to go looking into my past, and then once they put their hands on my record, that's gonna be the talk right there. I knew he was like that. I knew he was, you know what I mean, still stuck in that world. He was falsifying. So I'm saying that to say to them is that, you know, once you walk out these doors, understand you have a whole life ahead of you.
Yeah, right.
You have to determine how you want to live your life. The choice is yours. TR, though we're up in age, guess what? The choice is still yours.
Yes.
I'm up in age. The choice is, I got a choice. After this broadcast, both of us, as black men, we can walk out our front door and go to a bank or go to a store, and guess what? Say the heck with it, and go in there and pow, 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 pow. You see what I'm saying? We have choices. But the matter of the point making the right choice. If that all sounds, yeah. So just going back, that it is pertinent when I said that there's nothing new under the sun. I pray to God that those days when the whole nucleus was back, let's say 80%. Now we're down like 20% of the man and the woman and children, and I'm legally married, raising the children. We're down to 20%. When you talk about believing in God and religion, that's down to 30%. So I pray to God that we can get back to those days when, you know, the nucleus of the whole family was dominant.
Right.
And even
Absolutely.
when, look, brother.
That's where the heroes are born.
You're a step
Those are
older
heroes.
than I. Yeah, I mean, you're a step older than I, so you know what we saw back in the 60s coming through with the nucleus family. You know, you can look on video with the King marches when they were all smothering the church atmosphere, the congregation, the pews. You know, when they were marching, when they were walking and protesting. You saw the family nucleuses. You know what I mean? So now, go back and look at the George Floyd. All right, the marching at that point. Who were the dominant? No, I ain't talking about, you know, the cultures, or, you know, black, white, said, no, I'm talking about the family nucleus. You see what I'm saying? From the 60s to the early 2000s, after COVID, to where we are now, how things have drastically changed from where it was. And we got to understand, brother, you know, we got children walking on our shoulders like we're walking on those shoulders before us. So the question is,
absolutely. Well, I want to kind of
in Birmingham when he wrote, "Where do we go from here?" Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, I want to bring us in because ultimately, the things that would make us to be the heroes that we need to be, it's not always the fact that there is a lot of spotlights shining in on us. It's, again, in my opinion, it is a father who takes on his role to be the father. You father the children, be the father in that household, be a financial provider, be a provider of love to that family, but also and it's a whole nother conversation to get into, the entrepreneurship, the idea, what Black Wall Street also gave us was the idea that it is possible. It is not necessarily the case that you have to come out and go to work for someone, that you can come out and start your own, because therein lies your capability of being able to create jobs in your own community. So those kinds of lessons are the lessons that we have to take to heart. And again, it's not something that one person is able to stand up and say, this is it, or maybe it is, but it has to be followed through with a lot of people doing their part.
Joining forces.
Yeah.
Joining forces. And
Absolutely.
You know, I go back again and I say, thank God that I am an entrepreneur. My grandfather, my dad's dad, he was an entrepreneur. even though I only saw him like 3 times in my lifetime. But I know that he owned a couple of cleanesses, if you will, in Baltimore. You know what I mean? So he was an entrepreneur, and it was just, it was an average cleanest, if you will. It wasn't like he was making, prima donna money. All right. However, he was in that entrepreneurial role, and I like to think that him being that entrepreneur sort of kind of steamed forward to me winding up being that entrepreneur. And now it then took another level because my son is that entrepreneur.
Amen.
And we were just talking today, him and I, about that same subject where we were talking about my granddaughter, his daughter, when he said, quote unquote, I am trying to train my daughter to become that entrepreneur. All right. So him, like myself, keep it real, jack of all trades, and like Les Brown told me one time, he said, look, the moral of the story is every day you get up, you throw that dart at the wall. You keep throwing the dart at the wall because something's going to stick, but it won't stick if you never try.
You got to throw the dart.
If you never try. You know what I mean? And you think about all the entrepreneurs who have risen since, black entrepreneurs that has risen since President Bill Clinton signed the bill for small businesses. And you see how it went forth from Clinton to now where we are, and how entrepreneurs, black entrepreneurs, have grown by leaps and bounds. You think about the shutdown of COVID. When COVID shut everything down, I don't even think you were here on Earth. I think you went off to another universe somewhere, planet Uno.
I was here.
Hey, every time I bring up COVID and what happened, you're like, wait a minute, COVID? What was that?
I was
think about.
Hey, listen, before we go, now. Yeah, we got to go after a while. We'll do another one. But I want you to pull your book up, show your book, if you have that handy. But also, you have something coming up this weekend, you said?
Well, I can't get to. Well, let me put it like this. All right. I hope you don't see me. Good. You don't see me. Great. I'm not on camera.
Yeah, because you also have something coming up at 5508.
Yeah, these are the books. All right, I've written 14, but these are the ones that I'm pushing strongly. All right, and this one here wound up number 1 on Barnes and Noble's self-help books. It's a loose autobiography of my life, overcoming trials and tribulations. And as you see, I have winner in an acronym style. So each one of those letters bring meaning, if you will. This book here is Motivational Moments that I did. It came out, hit the market on my birthday, believe it or not, in 2019, Motivational Moments. So each one of these you can purchase off my website, which is dld.org. The Power of Being a Winner, Amazon, and other outlets. You did mention about the event coming up. As you know, 17 years, this year's marked 17 years of myself portraying Frederick Douglass around the country. What a great honor. When you talk about male impression, when you talk about male mentor, please understand that Frederick Douglass has been gone since 1895 at the age of 77. He has truly impressed my life, and he's still impressing my life.
One of my heroes too.
A great impact. I mean, every year when it's time to take on Frederick, to be honest with you, I shut out everything and I go into the Frederick mode to learn even more stuff that I'm learning. So this weekend, Saturday, as a matter of fact, starting at 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock, located at 5508, I've teamed up with the Mayat Sankover Learning Center, headed by Queen Mother Brenda Allen. She is celebrating her 5th year, and she's arrived in Tampa from Compton, California. So we are teaming up. We've already teamed up last month for Dr. King, January 31st. All right. It was a celebration of Dr. King where I displayed my museum, portions of my museum that consisted of Dr. King. But this weekend and this Friday, I will be at Edison Edison Elementary doing Frederick as well. And Edison, believe it or not, is where I started when my son, who was in the 5th grade, invited me out to speak to his class. From that point on, that is the starting point of where I am today, per se. So I will be doing Frederick Douglass there. Frederick Douglass Saturday at 5508 North 50th Street. And I have another engagement. It's like immediately after I finish there, then I'm off to another location. Forgive me, I don't have the information in front of me. Frederick Douglass once more that evening, Saturday evening, at another location. So besides that, I was on NBC yesterday. That will be shown on NBC this coming Tuesday morning, which is the 24th, Tuesday the 24th. The 26th will be again on TV on Channel 13 News, speaking on, I'm just assuming, speaking on Frederick Douglass, I guess, because when I went yesterday, and when she introduced me and I looked at the monitor, they had my whole life up there. I'm like, whoa, who gave me this information? So, you know, if I can give out my information, if anybody's interested, they can contact me, 813-394-5875, 813-394-5875. You see my name, so if you're interested in gathering more information on who I am, what I'm about, and what's coming up in the future, by all means, I'm on all social media platforms, so you can definitely look me up, Wikipedia, Google, YouTube, whatever, you know, all the social media platforms. And I just want to say, I know we have to come to an end, but I just want to say, brother, when you talk about black male maturity, black male masculinity, being a black male, a strong black male in these times that we're living in with so much coming at us, it's almost like I said, you probably remember the picture of Muhammad Ali that they put on the front of Sports Illustrated with him with all the darts in him. You know, you might remember that issue. And that more or less represents us, you know, with all the darts coming at us every day. And especially if you have a name. If you have a name out there, the darts are really coming at you big time from all different sectors. So I just want to say in closing that as a black man in this society today, you know, please, if you believe in a higher power, call on him first. The second thing is that, you know, round up your immediate circle who support you, who see what you see, who back you 10,000%. Stay focused. Stay focused. Stay focused on the goals that you have set for yourself, for your life. You see what I'm saying? Be a man. It's okay. It's okay to be a man that cares. It's okay, you know, to carry you on your shoulders. You see what I'm saying? It's okay. It's okay. And because if you want to call me guilty, I'm guilty. Because I carry it right here where people can see it. But they also know, even though they see it here, they see that my heart is right there. Please don't misjudge that, okay? Because I am still in shape at 69. But the moral of the story is stay focused. Have your heart, all right? Be open to somebody. Because if you don't, in the beginning, sir, you mentioned suicide, all right? Suicide is real, okay? Also, health, my black men, please. It used to be 40 years old. Let's dial back to 35 years old. Get yourself checked for prostate cancer. Yeah. Prostate cancer is a death for us as black males because of the fact that we refuse to go and get ourselves checked. Yeah. We think it's gay. Well, let me bring out the gay. Let me bring out the gay. All right, I'm gay. What? No, not that gay. I'm gay because I'm gaining achievement yearly. I'll say it again so it can ring a bell to somebody. gaining achievement yearly. Dr. J spoke recently, and he said a lot of people talk, when they see me, they want the autograph because of what I did like 30, 40 years ago. When I go to talk about what I'm doing today and moving forward, their ears kind of shut closed. Because of the fact that, yes, I'm thankful for the ABA and the NBA. That's my past that put me on the map. But I'm not living on that past. I'm living on what I'm doing each day that God allowed me to live. So brothers, in short, all right, as you age, don't get caught up on what you did yesterday. Get caught up on what you're doing tomorrow. And if I can end with this, Drill Sergeant told me, as I told him at 21 years old at Fort Jackson, if you spit in my face one more time, it's going to be me and you. I didn't see that hand of Drill Sergeant Thomas coming up behind my neck and throwing me on the ground, putting that 3-inch boot on my back and telling me, give me 50. That's why my chest is so big. Give me 50. When I got up crying again, and he was back in my face, and he said this, my brother. He said this to all your listeners. The maximum range of an excuse is 0.00 meters. If you want an excuse, have an excuse of how you're going to go through in this hard life and wound up on Success Boulevard. That's your excuse to live by.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here. DLD in the house. All right, Don, thanks so much for being with us. God bless you. God be with you. Listen, I'm going to put some of the information down below so they'll be able to see that. But please, go ahead and reserve your space in here so you'll get the notifications every week. We're here every Sunday at 3 o'clock unless we have a special showing. If we have a special one, I'll let you know that too. But Don, thanks very much.
And look, thank you, man, and I love you, brother, and thank you for being there for me when I was going through.
God bless.
I love you, brother.
God bless you, brother.
God bless.
Take care.
All right, man. All right, peace.
Great